I used to work in banking, I don't work anymore.
These countries have been downgraded by S&P.
So we're losing money all the time. People's pensions are affected. My mother-in-law's income's down by a third.
I think the West has got massive, massive problems. I think the politicians really don't know how to get out of it, I think is the real answer.
Have a more responsible government, I hope.
I believe that the $1 bill has a prophecy in it. When I look at the pyramid and the eye I mentioned earlier, that I believe that's giving a date, and that date is 240 years after the bottom of that pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid gives the date 1776, which is the year of independence of America. And I believe every single rung or every single layer of that pyramid, there's 12 more layers, represents 20 years. I'll show you why in the book. And the eye is therefore 240 years later, which is 2016. So I think something's going to happen this year. 100% sure this is the way I see it. The word pyramid is also got in the middle of it the word ram. Pyramid, ram. Ram in Hebrew means lofty. And there's lots of, I can show you with that word pyramid, but we'll stick to this word ram in the middle, which in Hebrew gematria is 240. So you have 240 from the bottom of the pyramid to the eye, which brings us to 2016. I can also show connectedly that the date of that eye represents Gimel Tammuz in Hebrew, which is the third day of Tammuz, which is not long from now, which I believe something going to be significant is going to happen on that day. And who knows, we'll wait. When we look at the other side of the seal, we've got the eagle. I mentioned earlier that peace and war both equal 270 using the large value. Eagle using the large value is also 270. So you've got peace is 270, war is 270, and eagle is 270 using the same system. And the eagle is looking to the peace and not to the war. So the eagle has symbolic representations in various cultures to war or peace. The Romans had it on their standard. Germany had it. America has the bald eagle, which is actually the eagle on the $1 bill, as its standard. So the eagle has an interesting connotation towards peace or war. In the Bible, in the Torah, we see that the eagle represents redemption. So it says that I took you out on eagle wings. So the eagle represents redemption. And all that represents the idea of the coming Mashiach, the coming Messiah, and bringing of peace to the world, which is, I believe, what the dollar bill is basically all about. Is peace the most important state of mind? I believe that's true. I think what I've been trying to do with my gematria systems and the books I've written is to show primarily that there is a God. That everything that happens is what we would call bashert, which means destined. We have control over our free will, but things that happen to us and events that we are involved in, they are orchestrated by God for us to realize that there is what we call hashgacha pratit, which is individual divine providence in the world, that each of us are on a mission and we have to do our bit. We have our free will, but the mission that has been set for us is been set before we're born. And when we realize that God is in control, then we can let go of things that go wrong in our lives. We can say that these are always for the best. Peace of mind comes when a person lets go of his worries and his concerns, and he realizes that this is whatever's happening is for the best. And when you realize that everything's guided, and this is where my gematria systems show, my books show everything is guided, everything's there, it's going to happen. With peace of mind, we've reached a state of acceptance that God is working in our lives. We've reached a state where we allow things to flow, and we create an open gate to the energy and the blessings of God. When we become concerned and worried about what's happening, then we create a blockage. You probably heard of the dam busters, where the Allied forces went in to destroy 3 dams. It was a man called Wallace who invented the bouncing bomb. And they went out on their aeroplanes using these bouncing bombs to smash these dams. Of the 3 dams, 2 of them were smashed and the other one wasn't. And I used my gematria system and actually got quite a few. I've got 4 basic systems. They're all based on the placement value. And the other system which I've mentioned, where I showed that war equals peace 270, is the large value. There are other systems. I've got 4 basic systems. And using those, I've shown that the bouncing bomb is related to 3 of those dams, but not to the 3rd. In other words, I can show by gematria that these 2 dams were succeeded to be broken, destroyed, because they had a mathematical equality to these bouncing bombs. And the other one that didn't get destroyed, there's no equality. So perhaps it could be used, say, in a war campaign, that there's going to be an attack on a certain place or certain building, and we could try the gematria. And if there's no relationship in the gematria to that place, then we might be able to say there's not going to be a successful campaign, and we shouldn't go ahead. It could also possibly be used in medical science, because I've shown all sorts of things like vitamin E, vitamin A, how they're related. The vitamin A is related to the eye. I've done work on smallpox and cowpox, how the cowpox can be a vaccination against the smallpox. So it's possible that if somebody's got some sort of idea that this, say, inoculation might work, but they haven't yet tested it, perhaps by doing the gematria we could show whether it would work in the first place. And if it comes out correct, the numbers come out correct, then we could go ahead and say, try it. So those are just 2 ideas of which we could possibly practically use it. As far as prophesying the future, I've got a book called Your Days Are Numbered, where I show dates of events, how the event correlates with the date. It actually started off with me working out Guy Fawkes Night, which in England, if you're not from England, is on the 5th of November, where we build bonfires and fireworks. So Guy Fawkes Night equals 176, using the placement value. And November the 5th equals 176, so it has an equality there. So I thought, well, let's try that with other dates. So I've tried with many dates. In my book, Your Days Are Numbered, there's probably more than 200 dates and events that have correlated together. And I thought about, is that therefore possible to prophesy the future or see what would happen in the future? I think that's very difficult. Maybe with the computer, I find the dollar bill quite an interesting object. It was given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe to thousands of people on the Sunday morning. People used to queue up for it. Why did he choose the dollar bill? In fact, he used to give the dime. And he went up a level to the dollar bill. The dollar, the word dollar, D-O-L-L-A-R, has an interesting gematria to it. First of all, it equals 62, using the placement value, which is the same as Menachem, who is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And dollar bill equals 97, which is serpent. And the Zohar says that the Messiah will be the Holy Serpent. You'll see, for example, in the headgear of the pharaohs of Egypt, they had a serpent. It was representative of kings, but the serpent has an evil aspect to it and always has a good aspect. So it can represent the Messiah, or it can represent the primeval evil serpent of the Garden of Eden. I took the word dollar, D-O, D is 4 and O is 15 gives 19, which is S. And the last two letters, AR, gives you 1, which is A, and R is 18, is 19, which is S. So you've got S on either side of the two L's. And the two L's are like the staff. And that's reminiscent to the instance in the Bible where you get the Israelites complaining about the manna and the food. So God sends fiery serpents against them, and they ask for forgiveness, and God tells Moses to take a staff and put a copper serpent on it, and they're healed. And that copper serpent on the staff has been called the Asclepius, and there's also the staff with two serpents on it, and that's called a caduceus. And both of the idea of healing, the sort of like healing wand. So the dollar bill looks like a healing object, a healing idea of spiritual healing, because it prophesies on it. In it, it's hidden a code of when the Messiah will come. The eye at the top of the pyramid is the awakening of the third eye, the coming of the Messiah who will bring this awakening. The eagle is facing the 13, the branch, the olive branch with the 13 olives and the 13 olive leaves, and the whole dollar bill is the olive green colour, which is the olive was brought, the olive branch was brought by the dove in its bill. That's got a dollar bill. Was brought in its bill to Noah in the ark, a symbol of peace. So I don't see the dollar bill as something that's evil. I see it's something very beautiful, and there's a lot on it that is very symbolic, and some hidden messages on it. You can read about that in my book, The $1 Bill. And I think if we look upon it a positive thing, you will see that it's not an evil thing that you see on the internet and all this Masonic stuff you think is evil. There's nothing that I can understand in Masonry that is evil. That I think is a conjecture. It's not a real proved fact. The English language, although it's developed over the years, is actually being developed not randomly, but guided by God to its end product, which is the modern English we have today. And that has been the case because I believe that the English language reveals the coming of the Messiah, reveals who he is, and therefore is the end of days language to bring about the coming Mashiach. I really believe that when people read my book, they'll be absolutely convinced who the Messiah is, when he's going to come, and they will realise that the English language is quite amazing and not coincident. This is a prophetic language, a language which is prophesying what's going to happen. It's got within it history all the way back through the Bible to the very creation, hidden in its language, and this is not a random evolution.